Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard the album Teeth Marks by S.G. Goodman yet, but yo.
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt and...
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. I'm too lazy to insert a Jawn pun here for this week. Guys, sorry, I apologize. A.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I have an incredible conversation with Mariah Parker, who performs under the name Linqua Franqa. We talk about music and we talk about politics, but most importantly, we talk about how to find optimism for the future of this country. We talk about all of that, and that's coming up in a minute. But first, what's up, crew? Hope you're all having yourselves a powerful summer full of both maxing and relaxing. This summer has been absolutely wild for me, and it's only just begun, my friends. I got lots of stuff in the cooker. You know, more vague meals for that tummy of yours are baking, and I can't wait until I get to serve you some of this yummy, yummy surprise goodness. Yummy, yummy surprise goodness for that tummy. But no, things are moving along. We've been having some discussions with a lot of great artists and creatives to be able to sit down with them and share with you a bit of their lives and their process. It's also very exciting to me. This is all I ever wanted, was an outlet to be able to just sit down with people I respect and talk about the dope shit they create. Music and movies and art, both traditional and of the non-fungible variant. You know, having these conversations has recharged my love of art, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to do all of this if it weren't for people like you allowing me the chance to spend some time reverberating your eardrums. Is that how hearing works? I don't know. Don't come to me for factual analogies and metaphors. Look, all I'm saying is I love this community, and I love this space that you have helped create. So thank you. But that being said, if you are new or you have very low frequent flyer miles on our airline and you want to find out more about me and this podcast, here are a few things you can do. 1, subscribe to the podcast. Boom! You are now a member of our elite team. Squad goals complete. 2, follow us on the socials. Insta, Twitter book, whichever it is. Follow us at Yo, That's My Jawn. Let's establish a dope followed relationship, with clearly defined boundaries, of course. 3, take a gander at the website, www.yothat'smyjawn.com. We got links to all of the episodes of this here podcast. We got some articles I've written, as well as a link to our shop to be able to get yourself some sweet, sweet Yo, That's My Jawn branded t-shirts. Make it happen. All right, enough with the shilling. Now, on with our show. My guest today is a rapper, linguist, and activist who performs under the moniker Linqua Franqa. Their latest album, Bell Ringer, which features guest spots from Jeff Rosenstock of Montreal, Kishi Bashi, Dope Knife, Westa Ruler, and the great Angela Davis, weaves a beautiful tapestry of hip-hop lyricism and neo-soul hooks to communicate and educate on a vast array of social issues, including police brutality, mental health, labor organizing, and prison reform, just to name a few. Not to mention, they are also the co-host of the popular iHeartRadio podcast, Waiting on Reparations. And beyond all of that, they are also a sitting Athens Clarke County Commissioner. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show today, Mariah Parker.
All right. Give it a few seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Mariah Parker, a.k.a. Linqua Franqa. Thank you for joining me today on the show.
100%. It's a great honor, sir.
So I got to tell you, I've been listening to Bell Ringer nonstop, and there's only one disappointing thing I have with it, and that is I ordered the vinyl, and I was hoping I was going to get it by today, because like this is, to me, an album that needs to be listened to in its entirety. It's just a fantastic piece of art. And I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about this. But thank you so much for creating such awesome material.
Thank you. I'm so sorry to let you down. I just got back from Portland. My life is very much up in the air, sometimes literally.
Yeah, sure.
Planes and whatnot. But I appreciate you appreciating it.
You. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So tell these good folk a little bit about yourself as a little child. Like, where did you grow up?
Myself as a little child, I grew up in Louisville. I grew up outside of Louisville, Kentucky. My mom was a gospel singer. She was in a gospel trio with her two older sisters. And so I got to be about like middle school. In the summertime, I would like go on tour with them. They would seek backup for beach music bands on the Carolina coast. You know, like the Drifters and like, I don't know, kind of like Sam Cooke-esque, like vibe, you know, but special dances, they would like line dances and couples dances they would do. Anyway, so I'll ride around with them and sort of like in the backseat of the car, like learn to harmonize with them, you know, on and on and on and all that. And so that's sort of like my a bit of my musical upbringing, in addition to like while all my kids were into like either like Lil Wayne or like My Chemical Romance, I was like, oh, that's cool, you guys. And I would go home and secretly listen to disco and like Bootsy Collins and like that's what I would brush my teeth to in the morning. Like, yeah. So I've always been into very like old school, not even old school in the sense of like hip hop is like where old school hip hop sampled from, you know what I mean? Like all the way back to like the primary source documents. And so that's a lot of my upbringing. It's just like being around a lot of gospel music, being around a lot of classic soul and R&B, sitting back, watching my older brothers freestyle and be like, oh, well, you know, I'm just a dirty kid that likes playing Harry Potter or whatever. And so like, I'll just like write rhymes in my notebook instead, not really share them with anybody until I got older. But I was a prolific writer, always wanted to be a writer. Never realized I would actually end up playing out writing, you know, being a hip hop artist, among other ways that I would use words these days. But yeah, it's all come full circle. I'm living my dream.
That's it. Writer. That's it. And
I always knew I would be.
That's unbelievable. So like, what were some of the, like the earlier stuff you were writing when you just kind of first started like falling in love with putting that pen to paper?
Oh gosh, I would write everything. So I used to be real, like, I thought I was super clever, where I would like read a book about some kids that like fell through a magic mirror and like fought dinosaurs. And then I would sit and I would come up with this brilliant idea about this story I was going to write about these kids that fell through a mirror and fought some dinosaurs. It was original, completely 100% off the dome. I was sitting write. And so it was a lot of like just copying, pasting what I was reading. And I was a voracious reader. So like just remixing, recycling ideas. Somewhat perhaps as we do as hip hop artists with sampling. And, you know, like, who was it that said, never mind. It's like a little Wayne quote talking about Kanye about recycling. You know, I say it's inspiring. I don't remember what it was. But yeah. So I did a little bit of that. Like I would write poetry. And like for me, just like getting words down, it wouldn't even matter what it is. If I wrote like a short story that like 4 paragraphs long, and then there would be like 4 like empty lines at the bottom of the page, I'd be like, all right, I got to write a 3-line poem about something to fill up that extra like little space. And so I would, you know, I distinctly remember writing a poem about like chains clanging. I was 7. I'd never heard chains clang. What does that even mean? But I needed to pull up the little piece of paper at the bottom because I'd written. So it's just about volumes of words, all kinds of genres, fiction, poetry, predominantly when I was young. And then, you know, I went off to college, studied journalism, did a little bit of nonfiction, got really into teaching writing. I was a writing tutor in college. And so that's how I then decided to pursue higher education, higher than that education, you know, master's, PhD, all that in teaching writing. So like, man, I love to write. I like, you know, I feel like I can explain myself well because I use words well. And I realize there's so many people out there who like have a poor perception of themselves because they can't express their ideas well. They're brilliant, brilliant people. But if they can't write an essay well, or whatever it may be, or even write an email well, like, you know, they get bad grades on their papers. People say they're not articulate, they get ignored. And so I'm like, I want to share with people the power of like the empowerment of like speaking your ideas clearly and powerfully. So yeah. So I studied writing, I did writing all my life, but now my whole thing is like not only continuing to write, but like how do I share, like how do I help empower people to see their own brilliance and intelligence through like, yo, here's how to do words good.
Yeah. It's really incredible, the idea of communication, and it's actually something. And I'm going to use a date, and I'm not going to explain why I'm using that date, but somewhere around like the end of 2016, I came to realize that one of the big problems in this world is that people, and I don't want to say unintelligent people, because it's not unintelligent people. It's just people cannot communicate exactly what they're thinking and what they're feeling clearly. So like everything gets muddled, and especially in a kind of social media environment and clickbait and blah, 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 everything gets muddled into like this base kind of thing. But there's so much nuance out there. And like, I feel like, and it's one of the great things I feel about music and poetry and literature is it's kind of like the ability to translate that, so like someone can read that but not be able to say it, but also be like, this is what I think, this is what I've been saying, that kind of awesomeness, which kind of plays right into where your stage name came from.
Indeed, yeah. For the listeners who may not know, so I have a master's in linguistics, and so in my master's studies, I learned about lingua francas, which are languages that you use to communicate across cultural boundaries. So internet, a lot of stuff is in English. People all over the world reading, typing English. The French colonized the shit out of Africa for a long time. French remains a lingua franca a lot of Africa, just because, you might be from Benin or you might be from, Burkina Faso, but like it's a language that like y'all can use to communicate across tribes, across national boundaries. And so I'm like, I feel like hip hop like does that more than any other music ever has, right? And particularly, I was like, I want my music to do that even more than like all other hip hop. My music to be the lingua franca of of the people across national boundaries and also cultural boundaries across like when I first started doing hip hop, I'm in Athens, Georgia, and everyone knows like REM and like the Drive-By Truckers and the B-52s, and like that's cool. But like we've had hip hop here forever, but it's just not been centered in our like cultural spaces. Like there's not been a centralized space for us, and so to use hip hop as this lingua franca, that's like, all right, we can finally get the punk rock and like the indie rock and the shoegaze and the trap people all in the room together and like realize there's nothing to be afraid of about each other. That hip hop served as a lingua franca for some of that like cultural desegregation that happened in Athens. So that's what I try to do with music and everything. So.
And you're definitely doing it. So, you say you've written since you were tiny and that was all you wanted to do. Quest for knowledge, same thing. Were you always curious? Were you always
voraciously curious? Yeah. So I was just up in Portland playing a show, and I went to this place, Powell's House of Books, I think. And it was the first time I've been in a bookstore in so long. And it flashed me back to being like 9 years old. One Saturday a month, my mom would just take me and drop me off at the Barnes & Noble in the strip mall. I would just hang out there by myself for like 6 hours. I would just sit there and read. I would hide in the corner and just read a whole book, hoping no one would catch me and force me to try to buy it or anything. I would like just marvel at all the different kinds of knowledge that was out there, all the kinds of worlds that people were creating with fiction, encyclopedias, whatever. I was just obsessed with books and, and thusly knowledge. So, I've always felt like what's the word for it? Autodidact. Like I love to learn. I hate school. Love to learn. I don't know why I stayed in school so long. It was terrible, but I got out that I'm free. However, I do love learning, and I mostly when it's self-sought, when you go out and just like for the love of knowledge itself, just like go find it. Well,
it's kind of that active versus passive nature of like, I feel like school is so much just sitting and you're supposed to be a sponge and take it in. And there's like not enough, once you get into, higher levels and stuff like that, you find it, but there's not, early on, like an ability to just kind of discuss and just kind of live in that knowledge, and question things. And, it's like, no, it's in the text. So you got it wrong. Like that kind of thing.
Right. It's A, B, C, or D. Pick one of those. If it's not, I don't care what what else you know about this topic. This is multiple choice. What's up? You didn't raise your hand, so even though your answer's right, you're kicked out of class. Like, I actually, my whole PhD dissertation was about how schools are sort of like part of the prison industrial complex. Like, they tell you when you can pee, when you can't pee, if you can eat, if you can't eat, who you're allowed to talk to. They got cameras, they got cops, they can throw you out, all this stuff. And it sets people up to like go to actual jail. So it's like this little jail that makes you go to real jail if you don't play the game right. Screw all that. Learning is wonderful, but schools themselves are terribly bleak places for a lot of people.
Definitely. So how did you end up in Athens?
How did I end up in Athens? How did I end up in Athens? It amazes me to this day. I got back from, I taught English in Brazil for a bit. I was talking about using language and wanting to teach. So for a little bit, I thought I wanted to like do that, like internationally, teach English as a foreign language. And but then I came back. I was living with my mom, and I had some friends living in Athens, Georgia. I was like, you should come visit. I hadn't seen them in a bit, so I came down here to a New Year's party, struck eyes with this like lanky, just pasty white boy with the piercing, icy blues and some champagne. I did kind of, juicing up my, receptibility for talking to some random stranger. Might happen to have fallen in love. I don't know. And then look, maybe I'm still here. Maybe I started sleeping on his friend's couch and got a job at a diner and like just didn't leave. Like, okay, so what about it? I'm still in Athens to this day. I got a job at the diner. I got a job at the print shop. I got into grad school. So that gave me a real reason to like stay. I was like, oh, maybe I'll stay. Then I like got in grad school here. So then I've been here ever since. Yeah, I've been here ever since. Wow, it's crazy. It's been almost a decade, but
that's
I like
wild.
It. It's good.
That's wild. Did you? So I know that you were kind of principal in kind of bringing hip hop more into the scene down there, but what did exist before it kind of you found that space?
And so I will say that so it seems from my understanding of Athens hip hop history predating me, like what happened with me was a part of a wave, like a wave that would like crest and fall, like, rise and da. So like before me, like maybe 10 years before I came along, same kind of thing where like they were like muscling, elbowing their way into like the music scene writ large to get shows downtown, to have freestyle competitions and like b-boy contests, etc. In a place that was predominantly rock music. But then all those people kind of like grew up and had kids and da. And then like, it's interesting. It's an interesting lesson in how like, if you don't keep pushing the same structures that you're fighting against, like we'll just grow up again, like weeds, like vines, and like take back over what you tried so hard to change. Right. And so like that whole generation sort of like faded back, and it went back to the exact same way it was before. Rock bands, people of color didn't feel comfortable coming into these venues. Venue owners didn't want to have hip hop. They're like, well, will there be a fight or something? Like, are people going to spend, do they have money to spend? Like dumb shit. Right. So started all over again, I also worked as like a door person at a bar in my early Athens years. And so went to the dude like, yo, I want to have a hip hop show. Mostly because I was just like, bro, I was on the edge. I was about to piece off this mortal coil. And I was like, well, I might as well like make rap music. And like, if it makes me feel better, then I get like, I'll live more. And if not, then I guess I don't. So I was like, I'm gonna book a hip hop show. And then I found some SoundCloud rappers from town that I like internet friends with, and, got them to play. Cause there wasn't a place for us. Like, it was like the internet is where all the hip hop cats like know each other, or like these far flung, like venues on the outskirts of town that, are for your kind and not for like regular musicians or whatever. And so it just started to happen organically, where I was like, oh, like this is not just me trying to like stay alive. This is something that more than just me needs. Like I realized seeing all those people in that room together, where like these hip hop cats who like grown up in Athens, like didn't even know about each other's existence, because like they'd never been in the same room. Like, oh snap, I thought I was the like hottest freestyle in town, and now I just got my ass whooped. Like seeing like, oh, we all kind of needed this, huh? And like, oh, I gotta keep doing this for not just me, just like for the culture. it was through continuing to do that I then got linked up with the older generation who started to come back out again. They're like, oh, snap, hip hop's come back. Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is. And learning more about how this has happened multiple times. And I feel like we are at a point now, because I sort of got out of the hip hop like show promotion game, focusing more on the artistry, but like in helping establish more of the direct connections between other artists in the venues, as opposed to being a gatekeeper. Like you take the gatekeeper away and then like, you know, you pull the plug on the whole thing. But instead now there's actually these relationships between folks where it's kept going. You know, it dipped a little bit in the pandemic, understandably, but like you can still catch a hip hop show in just about any venue in town, like, you know, a couple times a week. So that's dope. That's improvement. So I'm hoping maybe we've broken the cycle, or maybe with time, if we're not careful, it'll just claw its way back again and get back to just de facto segregation. We'll see. Time will tell. I hope not. But.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like you said, like that momentum, like it's kind of like the old moss can't grow on a rolling stone kind of concept, right?
Oh,
like,
yes.
you know, like it's got to, you know, movements kind of got to move to be able to, you know, move. And like, and you know, I've seen it kind of myself, like, you know, I'm from the Philly area. So like there would be these weird things where like I would go to like, go to see like Questlove spin somewhere. All right. And like, you know, he would be spinning in these great spots and stuff like that. But you could definitely tell that like he was, because of the roots kind of stature and stuff like that, like you know, it was like
he was a safe choice. Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, this one's fine. Yeah, totally. No, and I think lever some of my privilege as like, you know, I went to college, you know, I'm a fairly light-skinned person, of like sneaking my way, like Trojan horsing the whole thing of being like, I promise it'll be fine. And then of course it was fine anyway, because like hip hop is an amazing community and amazing culture. But like it's got, and like before I came along, there's this cat named, this like white Eagle Scout looking ass, like bald Mr. Clean head ass dude that like was apparently one of the people that integrated the music scenes. Cause like the hip hop cats would send him in and he'd be like, show up in his like, I don't know, blazer and be like, yo, we're gonna book a hip hop show. And they're like, okay, fine. Like sometimes it does have to be like that. As long as you are intentionally holding the door open for other people.
Right. Exactly.
There's definitely some cats out here, not to say Questlove, but I'd all be like this, you know. But those, you know, they're just like, all right, got mine, I'm out, I'm good. But it's like, nah, we gotta like hold that door open for people everywhere. Well, whatever the door is, yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say is he was always very good at like being kind of the guy with the foot in the door, and then it was like, all right, now let's bring in like Freeway and Beanie Siegel, you know, like and you would get kind of a better diversity to the shows and expand the culture or whatnot.
Yeah.
How did you like what, you know, you said you were into like you know, kind of the old classics and stuff like that. How did hip hop enter your life? What was your entry drug?
It's so funny because it was such like an ambient presence in my early years that to this day, like I'll hear a song, I'm like, I know this, and I don't know who sang it, and I don't know what year it came out. But like it just formed like this, like it's like the water through which I swam as a young person. I feel like I became very like cognizant of like hip hop that really spoke to me was like Lauryn Hill. When I was a little bit like much older, really. When I finally like truly, it wasn't just like hip hop was happening to me, but like I wanted to like happen to hip hop, if that makes sense. Is like listening to like MF Doom and being like, oh, you can like rap about like insane things. Like there's nerdiness to hip hop. There's like all sorts of like contours to it that isn't just like struggle or on the shit and like I never met you in my life. I had never seen you before. So being like, wow, like really opening my eyes to like seeing myself in hip hop more and not necessarily seeing how I need to fit into a preconceived notion, perhaps like mass produced by like the corporate moguls, whatever, of what hip hop's supposed to be. Hip hop's so multifaceted. And so, yeah, like MF Doom, like, you know, like when I was in high school, I don't know if it's dating myself in a weird way, but like Lil Wayne was like very incredible to young folks, myself included. And so I took a lot of inspiration from him when I was young. And then there's also like on the visual side of things, like in addition to just like fire production and like needing a female role model, like watching like Missy Elliott's music videos have also been the same thing with MF Doom of being like, oh, that's like finally I see a way to like be female in hip hop. that like makes sense to me. And like, I can see myself there, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole myself into something that doesn't feel authentic to me. So yeah, those were some of the influences that were like very like, not just like, yeah, it was like the hip hop was the water through which I swam, but these were like the icebergs I smashed my head on. I was like, oh snap, like water can be this too. Sick.
Yeah. You know, and that's one of the things like that I feel like, and I always like to champion tough causes. And I feel like this is a tough cause, but I think people like when they talk about Wayne, they always talk about how strong of a rapper he was. And like that stretch from like Carter 2 to Carter 3 and like just mixtape Wheezy. Right. But I think one of the most important things about Lil Wayne is the fact that like, and it's stuff that he used to get clowned on, was how he wanted to be something other than just Lil Wayne, essentially. You know, when he started skateboarding or when he did the rock album and stuff, like he kind of gave a permission to a lot of people who didn't feel like they had a permission to be weird. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And it's
100%. Yo, you know, I hope I will always be a person that like, even if I don't rock with something, I can recognize the brilliance and like I can recognize the hustle. And like, yeah, you can absolutely say that for like Lil Wayne's kind of like prime queen era or whatever. It's like, that's not for me, but also like, I'm glad you're doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a lot of times where I hear music or see a film, I'm like, did not enjoy that, but I can tell that it was genius. Yeah. So I definitely recognize that about a lot of what he's done. I was like, that's weird, but thank you.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I had the guys, a few of the guys from the band Spy Mob. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They backed Pharrell and Chad on the NERD project. NERD,
another example of like standout, like, oh snap. Like I could be, you're allowed to do that? Sick.
And that's exactly what I was talking to them about, was just how important the ability is to kind of be on a main stage and say it's okay to be different. Like, we are not like anything else you have ever experienced, you know, and this is a pocket you can live in. And like that kind of stuff I find incredible. And I'm not blowing smoke. Like there are similarities to that with how I find your music, is that like it does kind of bridge and sit in a position that doesn't really have a lot of contemporaries, so to speak. I mean, like, you have contemporaries. Don't get like, I'm not saying you're the only person out there doing it.
I hope so. It's fucking lonely out here. Please tell me.
No, but like I think there's like a burgeoning scene of stuff that I feel like you kind of are a perfect example of, which is that, you know, hip hop can be something else, and it's like the next step. And like, you know, I one of the things a lot of hip hop naysayers or whatnot, whoever those people are, but whatever they all like to say is like, oh, it's all about like guns and drugs and money and stuff like that, right? And I'm like, look, man, hip hop is just in its like Beach Boys early Beatles stage, right? Like the Beach Boys were all about cars and girls and waves, and that was it. And then one day, you know, Brian Wilson finds ecstasy or LSD, and he starts writing Pet Sounds, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, they have lines that are like columnated ruins domino, which is just like the most beautiful phrase ever, right? So beautiful. But you have to give someone the space to be able to create something like that.
Exactly. It's like people are hating on Tyler. You know, he had his whole Yonkers thing. It's really dark and gritty and blah. And then he like got well and like got his life right and had this more creative freedom, more material freedom, you know, better resources. And he started making like happier, sweeter, like cuter music. And more touchy feeling. People were like, ew, what's this? It's like, you want us to suffer. Like, you're consuming suffering. That's your relationship to hip hop, Sig. It's not really about like all the things that it means to be Black. It means to be, you know, like from these geographies, you know, that help shape what our music sounds like. Yeah. So I think that is really interesting when like people, oh, hip hop is just this. And it's like, the other thing to that is that, I mean, I think that when I mentioned the slight jab at like the corporate influences, there's definitely a kind of hip hop that's incentivized. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial and talking about why that is, but like there's somebody who's like willing to back certain kinds of hip hop to sort of perpetuate, you know, certain messages. So, and that then like people want to create those kinds of messages to get the money, and goes on and on in circles. And so it's like, if we truly valued all the different kinds of ways of being Black, you know, is like one of the center ways of being in hip hop. Like we actually even put our money behind that. Imagine how hip hop would change, but instead it's like, nah, we want y'all to be this. So we're gonna incentivize y'all to be this by only backing and like resourcing this kind of music to blow up huge, because that keeps y'all in your little like, you know, I don't know, a little pen, little cage. I don't know. It's getting a little spicy over here. But anyway,
no,
so yeah.
You're not wrong. And again, like this is one of the things that I think I've found out in my old age that like scares me more than anything is like back in the day, like early, like when I was really getting into things, I was like, this is a conspiracy to keep people down, which it is. But it's even worse than that to me now as an adult. I'm like, oh no, it's just all about money. It's all about keeping the money.
It's nothing more grandiose than that. It's almost kind of sad. That's all it is. Like, oh, it's nothing supernatural. No. There's no kind of cults or like ceremonies. It's just money. Well, that doesn't make sense though.
And then it just feels so gross. Like I just wish there was like evilness beyond, like, not that that's not evil, but like I wish there was like kind of the pure demonic
sorcery and like or some shit. Nah, it's just money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. You are without a doubt, I think I feel safe saying this, not knowing it about anybody else, but you are my first sitting public officer on this podcast. Yeah. Which is incredible. Tell me a little bit about how running for office came about.
So I was organizing these hip hop shows, and through that, meeting a lot of people and hearing a lot. I mean, like it's different when you start going, because I didn't really go to live music growing up or anything. Like I said, I was like swimming through hip hop, hearing our stories, but like to like you link like the story you hear told on stage to like you're having a drink with that person at the bar after, and like hearing them elaborate on like when they were talking about like when they got locked up and they lost their kids, and thinking of all these things in terms of like, this music that we're all making is like very much shaped by like other people's choices around what our lives have to be like. So like all these things coming to see this, like, this is all a matter of public policy. Like it's great to do cultural change and like help integrate art scenes. But like that guy wrote that song about like getting locked up because he didn't want to work at Wendy's anymore because of like a policy decision somebody made about his life that he had nothing to do with. And so like just kind of partially feeling fed up with like, all right, I've done all I can through music alone to like try to fix some of these problems, and being like, all right, like we have like a movement out here. We like, we got the solid crew of folks, 100, 200 folks that come to these hip hop shows. Like let's put a voice for this movement in City Hall. So like all these stories we're telling are actually resonant and reflected in like the policies that are getting made. They're going to like shape our kids' lives, shape our lives, like whether or not this cat is going back to jail for weed again, or are we going to legalize that shit? Like, these kinds of questions. And so I just jumped in there. Like I first got involved with my friend. So the Eagle Scout white boy, he was running for office. He was running for office. I met him at my hip hop show. He was like, yo, come work for my campaign. I was like, bet. So I worked for his campaign. I was campaign manager. And then I was like, yo, I'm running. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna do it. Because he'd been out the game for a minute. I was like, no, we need like that voice that's in the streets right now. So I was like, look, the guy who was my commissioner was commissioner for 25 years. No one ever ran against him. Step down. Guy who was running to replace him, also running unopposed. And I was just like, look, y'all. What did I say? I was never the ideal candidate, but I'll die before I kneel candidly. So I was just like, I might as well. It's only democracy if you have choices. So sure, I am all the things that I talk about in my album, as you are well aware of. But I'm gonna give people a choice. I'm gonna give people a choice here. And I ended up winning the election by 13 votes and then getting reelected 2020. I've been in here ever since. It's been a wild ride, but it's very much like I would not be in office right now if it weren't for hip hop. Learning how to be an organizer through hip hop shows, building a coalition through hip hop shows, and identifying what the issues are in the community through listening like very closely to the music through these shows and being like, I see how we've all been done wrong by these people that are making decisions for us.
Yeah. And it's incredible, talking about kind of identifying what, where the struggle and where the conflict in hip hop, lyrics come from, like what the seed is there. Because like I think of things like, everybody was when the auto industry like went down in the US, everybody was like, well, it was these blown up union contracts and stuff like that. Well, when you identify what the issue and why it was so bloated, it was because of the health insurance policies that they gave, right? So like the problem isn't the unions, the problem is the health industry, right? Like
I wonder who pray tell made us try to think it was the union.
Exactly.
Who wouldn't want us to know it was the health insurance?
And again, it's the money. You follow the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so identifying those problems is incredible, and like one of the things that and one of the reasons I'm very happy to be able to talk to you is like I got to read about like you've made actual change. Like tell them all about that listen a little bit about the Linentown
sure, yeah,
situation, because that's incredible, and that's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Well, thank you. It doesn't feel like much when you are like a radical. I love to dream big. I used to like, I make hip hop, so I'm not gonna like, off myself or whatever. Well, today like dreaming of the world we really deserve, where like everyone has housing, healthcare, like climate change ain't even like ain't no thing. We chilling, like we ain't like, anyway, all of these things, like it's really hard for me to like appreciate things that we did like Linentown. So I'm like, but I'm trying to get everyone.
Sure.
I want that bigger thing. But yeah, so I mean, we've done some stuff that was pretty cool. The Linentown resolution was one thing that I worked on for about 2 years. We passed last year, which was the first act of reparations in the state of Georgia, not for slavery, but actually for urban renewal, which was a policy in the 1960s of, these federal grants they put out to clear slums and turn them into like productive public projects. And so oftentimes it's just destroying Black neighborhoods, in our case in Athens, to build student dorms for the University of Georgia. And so there are about 60 Black families that lived in Linentown, humble but home-owning folks. They were janitors, lunch ladies, what have you, take trucks out to the countryside to pick cotton on the weekends. And it was decided that their neighborhood was to be burned to the ground to build these student dorms. And those kids who watch the bulldozers pull up and honk in the night and watch their neighbors' houses get burned to the ground to like intimidate them into leaving, they're in their 70s now. They're still here. And so I met with some of them my neighbors. And so I like heard their stories about it and started organizing with them. I was like, all right, like, let's get what y'all lost. Cause some of their families were torn apart by this. Like they went from owning homes to like split apart from their siblings and like across states and living in public housing. Like marriages fell apart, lost everything, not just the wealth, but just the social fabric of their lives as well. So, so we fought for 2 years. We wrote up a list of demands, things that the city had to apologize for our complicity and making this happen, and also like give the money back. Like it was recently calculated by a geographer at the university that they lost $5.4 million in generational wealth through, being forced out of their homes. And those if their house had still been there today, worth millions
sure.
Today.
Yep.
And so, so we finally passed the resolution in 2021, apologizing for what happened and also committing to material redress. Now, in the state of Georgia, we can't just give them the money back straight away, but they now serve on a committee that decides how like $1 million gets spent of city money every year, just based on like, we lost our chance to be like homeowners and accrue this generational wealth through home ownership, down payments for houses for folks or whatever. And so like, boom, like we're working on stuff like that. Last year, they were like, we want living wages for everyone that works for the government. And we did it. It was like, all right, whatever y'all say. So, yeah, it was cool. It's cool. And I think, I hope it serves as a model because we have other neighborhoods this happened to that we haven't even done this process yet. There are neighborhoods all over the United States that had this happen to them. And it's a lot easier to prove, because like one of the arguments against reparations for slavery you hear like Mitch McConnell make is like, well, how do you know who should get the money? It's like, well, if you're talking about urban renewal, where these people are still alive, a lot of them, like we have the documents of like where their houses were, how much their houses were worth before you burnt them to the ground. Like very easy to make that argument because like the paper trail is crystal clear. So I think that this is a model that could 100% be replicated elsewhere. And that's what's actually exciting to me about the Linden Town Resolution. It's not just what we did here, because I'm always thinking to the pie in the sky. So I want to see this done everywhere. I want to see people take this, what we did here with the archival research and making the demands and the organizing and getting it done everywhere. Because there's an urban renewal project in every city, period. So yeah, we did that. That's cool. Reparations is cool.
The spark that ignites the flame. Like that's it. That is it right there. Like that's like absolutely incredible. And like, you know, like I said, like it's really cool that, you know, you have not just kind of, you know, a lot of artists, and this isn't to, you know, kind of denigrate other artists or anything like that. A lot of artists don't put their feet or their, you know, the muscle where their mouth is, right? And like, you're not just saying something, you're doing something, and that's incredible to me.
Well, here's the thing. We're going back to schools, right? I don't blame a single rapper. I blame schools because they don't teach you how to do this. They teach you that civics is you go and vote every 4 years and then it's okay. They might maybe like tell you about the 3 branches of government, but they don't teach you nothing about how to organize a protest. They don't teach you nothing about how to organize a general strike. And why is that? Oh, they didn't have time for that. Why not? Oh, because if you actually got everyone to call out of work and shut the city down, they wouldn't like that very much. They will never, you know, the old meme says they'll never teach you what you need to know to overthrow them, right? And so, like, it's really just we're bereft of, like, knowledge of how to do anything with the knowledge we do have. Like, you know, we know things are messed up, but, like, no one ever taught us how to, like, to let that galvanize action and, like, what kinds of action that can galvanize. We taught that the civil rights era is over and, like, racism ended and, like, Obama's president, it was sick. And that's it. Because they don't want people out here. If they had rappers out here, like, really, like, on MLK level, like, fucking shit up, their worst nightmare. So, of course, schools are terrible and not teaching us any of this stuff. So, yeah. I mean, so I would love to see more rappers get out there, but we got ways to go for that.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the quote unquote nightmare of, oh, you know, they're trying to indoctrinate people, and it's like, no, you know, it's not indoctrinate, or maybe like this is I'm gonna kind of, I told you earlier, tangents and side roads and all. Yeah. Here it is. All right, I always say, like, I don't understand why we back away from things like when everyone's like, oh, Obama is a socialist or something like that. Like, cool, bet. I wish. Like, fucking, like, I don't know why.
Wait, where? When? Show me where. Show me where he was a socialist. I missed that.
I heard someone breaking.
Shit back, DJ.
Yeah, exactly. I heard someone breaking down like political ads that the right now, and it was like every single conservative person running is like, I'm a conservative, I'm the biggest conservative, no one's ever conservative like me, here's how conservative I am. And every single Democratic political ad at no point is like proudly like, I'm a liberal and I believe in liberal ideas. Like, it's just like pretending.
And then you got right wing people over here calling everybody a socialist, calling like Joe Manchin a socialist or whatever. And so, like, I'm out here, like, I'm actually a socialist. And so I'm like, look, you can't run, and like, they're gonna call you that anyway. So, like, why are you so scared? I'm gonna have to be as moderate as possible so that, and like, promise people absolutely nothing so that they can't call me a communist or whatever. They're gonna call you that anyway.
Right.
Like, stand for something. And like, I don't know, man, what are you scared of?
And not just that, they're not defining it correctly. So, like,
none of these people even know what that even means, which is fine. I feel like I don't even know. I'm learning all the time, but like, it's ridiculous. We live in a simulation, man.
We absolutely do, and it's the worst one. I really wish we could get like
don't run that shit back, DJ. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
No, get me out of here. Actually, would you please?
but so you know you make this move into politics, but then you are just like, oh, I'm also going to release this brilliant album, Bell Ringer. So where did you find the time to do that?
The pandemic, really. I mean, like, I mean, like, it was always an outlet for me, especially once I was in office and like starting to get death threats and crazy stuff. I was just like processing all of that. And so I kept writing anyway. And then definitely having a lot of downtime during the pandemic, and also a lot of new stuff to process once more.
Yeah.
Of like watching people strike, and walk out because of like hazardous working conditions because of COVID and everything, and being like, wow, that's dope. That's crazy. I never learned about that in school. Let me like write a rap song about it and wrap my head around what the hell's going on. Just reflecting on the world and needing something to do with it. Not necessarily, I study education. And so people are like, oh, you use hip hop to educate. It's like, well, not really. It's autodidactism in that like I process what's happening around me and teach myself, through writing about it and like, okay, now I understand what's happening. But then putting it back out there to people like, do with this what you will. Here's something I thought about. What do you think? Kind of thing. So like, it was really like the last year, 2021, just hit it real hard. Like I've written all this stuff over 2020, 2019 even. I'm putting it out there. I'm sick and tired. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm putting out an album. Because it's been, and Bell Ring came out. It's been 4 years since my first album.
Yeah.
So I work really well with deadlines because I have been indoctrinated into schooling, even though I hate schools. I'm like, oh, what word count are you looking for, professor? So I was like, I was like, all right, July 2020, album's gonna be done. Let's do it. And I needed to for just like you need to drink water, just like you need to eat vegetables. It just was good for my soul. And so when you ask like, oh, how did you find time? Like I could not have been doing politics had I not been writing hip hop to like stay sane through the, insane voicemails and somebody's gonna like throw bricks through my window and stuff, So I found there's always time. There's always time. Yeah.
I love it. I gotta kind of jump on something you just brought up there. Credible threats or like
I guess not, in that nothing has ever happened.
Yeah. Okay.
But good. I do have a very fraught relationship with the police, but they have had to investigate a couple things.
Wow.
And recently, I've had like prowlers like at the house and stuff. So I have to like, in addition to like, cops and stuff, I don't like getting them involved. I got good neighbors, let's say, that stay strapped. So I'm joking about it. I think because humor is a good way to like just keep it light and process and deal with it, because it is actually not that funny. But yeah, credible at times, but also a lot of just like the internet enables a lot of people to say just random shit because nobody knows who you are. And so that whenever that happens, that still reminds me of like that the credibility of other threats could be coming.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my biggest fears about the internet, and has always been one of my biggest fears, is like you can like and it's the thing that drives me nuts about people who kind of fall back on using the First Amendment as a crutch and whatnot, is that the First Amendment doesn't free you from accountability for your words. Don't
mean you don't have come on.
And the internet making it so that no one is accountable essentially for their words is just like everything that's been happening. It's like seeing the code in the Matrix. Like, I could have told you this is where it ended. Like,
I see it in multiple ways. I see that like when weird stuff starts happening with me, it's like, well, first, that's how the First Amendment actually works. There's there's the consequences for the things you say. And you got to accept those consequences. You can't just willy-nilly run around saying stuff and be like mad that people get to say stuff back to you. Like you would prefer them not to be violent things. But like, okay. And then on the other side of things, like as a politician, like, look, when people were like protesting outside of Kavanaugh's house or whatever about the whole Roe v. Wade stuff, and people were like, oh, don't do that. I'm like, you're a politician. Like, I am also a politician. And like, I think that's completely fine. Like you should, that is actually your First Amendment,
That's
like
exactly right.
You can't be running and hiding and expecting your station in office to like protect you from the people. I don't know. So yeah, but it is funny when people think that like, oh, I deserve to, like the First Amendment means I deserve to be heard. The no consequence. I'm like, nah, son, zero, yeah. I've been saying wild shit all the time, and I know there's consequences, and I accept that because that's actually the First Amendment.
And it goes back to civics. Like, we're not teaching people civics, so they don't know. Like, it's the same thing. Like, if people don't truly understand their rights, it doesn't just work on not knowing when you're getting fucked, but also people use it and exploit it the other way. Like, it's crazy.
But look, it's like I said, I'm on the radicaler side of things, and I would say that like we really need to stop thinking about like freedoms to do we think of freedom, we think of like freedom to own guns and say slurs. Like that's what people I love my freedom. Like I just want to go around saying the N-word or whatever. But like freedom, I think people should feel free from fear. Like I think there's a lot of people that are afraid that they're going to be evicted next week. They're afraid of going to the doctor because they don't have enough money to like pay for, diabetes medication. There are people that are afraid of crime because they live in poor neighborhoods where crime is rampant. They live in nice neighborhoods and they fear of crime because there is poverty that drives crime that might force someone to come break in and steal their 72-inch flat screen. And so like we're all like, if we can all be free of fear, if crazy right wing folks don't have to be afraid of trans people. They're no longer afraid of immigrants. Like that's the kind of freedom that I want people to actually have. And like, sure, it's not in the Constitution. Maybe we have to throw that out and start over. But if we start thinking of freedom more expansively than just like the right has totally stolen freedom and run with it and like are killing the game. But if we start talking about like, you don't have to be afraid. We can be free from fear by like making sure people have their basic needs met and making sure people aren't scared of each other. You gotta be scared of somebody just because they're from Honduras. Like what? So yeah, we gotta be free from fear. We're working on it though. We're working on it.
And it's so poignant too, because like and this was again, I can't really remember. Actually, you know what? This one actually goes back further than 2016. It goes around I don't know, somewhere like late 2008. I can't remember what changed then, but something happened, and I noticed something. But
very
like
dry autumn. Yeah, I don't know. The leaves fell late, I think was what it was. Go on.
But watching like Tea Party rallies and stuff like that, right? And knowing that that was only going to get worse, and it did, much worse than I ever expected. But hey, they did it. Great job, guys. Yeah, great. But one of the things that kind of I found comfort in, which is weird, is watching like people talk at kind of those rallies and stuff. And I'm not talking about the speakers, the people, the bullshitters and stuff like that, but the actual people on the ground who are just there, who I actually don't hold ill will to. They've just been lied to and sold a bag of goods. All right. So like, and I know and it goes to your point, just scared. They're afraid of, things they don't have to be afraid of. Right. So like one of the things that brought me comfort is whenever you watch these people be interviewed and say really awful, incredibly horrible things, put it on mute and just mouth along to it. I'm scared. And it's like real. No, I mean, like I've gotten a lot of empathy out of it. Like just watching people like, froth, just essentially screaming, I'm scared. And like, it makes you go, oh my God, well, what can, like if fighting with you is just going to scare you more. So how do I love you and show you that you're not scared?
That's right? What I'm talking about. Yes. That radical. Yeah. Loving people through the discomfort of, I don't know. I feel that so much. I right after I got elected, I got a tattoo on my right arm that says no enemy, but apathy. And it's to remind me that like, I don't have any enemies out here at all. Like even people who like I am opposed to diametrically on terms of like ideals, like my real enemy out here is the apathy in our communities because like think for example the fact that like half of people didn't even vote in the 2020 election. So that means there's like half of the country that like just is not even paying attention, nothing's going on. And so if we beat apathy, then we can do anything. I ain't got to go over here and beat Ted Cruz. Bye, Ted. I hope you have a great time in Mexico. But like, I just got to get out here and like connect with the folks that just aren't engaged, that aren't on left or right, and they're not red or blue. They just people out here who are being impacted by decisions. And so, a part of that being that's the kind of like how what you said about that loving people like through stuff. It's like, I'm not going to waste my time coming to 10. I'm gonna love you, brother. Just come back when you're ready. And like the people who are readier to like for the like the love of coalition building, the love of like, yo, let's fight for our liberation together. Like, let's start there. But love, like these people are just scared, you know? I ain't trying to hate somebody just because they're scared. They're scared. Scared, you know why? Scared because they're gonna lose their money.
It's true.
It's all about the money.
It's true. But 98% of the people who are scared they're gonna lose their money aren't going to lose their money. They'll probably get money. Like, that's the worst part about it. Yeah,
or they don't have any money in the first place and think they do. Like, people don't actually know what it means to be rich in this country at all.
No,
at all.
People tend to vote, or that I've noticed, that I've had conversations with, and like friends and family, right? Like, vote like that. Well, you don't understand. I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow, and when I am, I don't want to get screwed by that.
I don't want to get taxed. Yeah, and it's
It's like, again, it's not you, dude. And even when it is you, if it is you, that's still not a lot of money. You know.
Yeah. See, that comes back to the thing about love, right? Because like you might see somebody with like a really nice house and a nice car, like, fuck that guy because he's got nice shit. But like, y'all are way like, if I'm sleeping on the street and I look up, see that guy in his nice, and his driving by in his Mercedes, we're a lot more in common than either of us is with like Elon Musk.
Right.
Like, you know, so we hate each other, we fight each other. When it's like, no, we like, if we love each other and see that we have a lot more in common than the people that are actually screwing us, like, it's game over for the people that are screwing us, man. Like, done.
Yeah.
But instead we fight each other, you know, we fight. We're like, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire tomorrow. So I don't want, you know, more taxes and da. When it's like, man, we on the same team though. We on the same team.
Do you know what? And literally all we need is like something along the lines of like a lingua franca to be able to
sort of like, if only there was some genre of music that communicated across all kinds of cultural boundaries. I guess we'll never know. Well, okay.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. Hey, do you want to go through this questionnaire? This
yeah. Hit me. What's good? Yeah, let's go.
All right. So it's two segments: one hit wonders and top 10 countdown. One hit wonders, you're just picking one or the other. Here we go. Number one: Billy Joel or Elton John?
Ooh. Elton John, just because I can picture him in his like sparkly outfit.
I love it.
Not at all on the musical quality. Just like the star-shaped sunglasses and the rhinestones. All day.
Nice. Very nice. The next one, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Joan Jett, only because I recognize that name more.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. Wait, what? Who are they?
Debbie Harry is the lead singer of Blondie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do they do the heart of glass? Is that them?
Yep, that's them.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Wait. So that's Debbie.
Joan. Yeah, Debbie Harry is from Blondie. Joan Jett.
I pick her.
Okay, I like it.
Change my vote.
Perfect. Next one: Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
That's just rude. Oh, that's so rude.
Blame Beyonce. It's Beyonce's fault.
Beyonce.
Did you hear me? Like, I
did hear that.
Brain fart or something.
We'll cut it out of the episode. Fine. Aretha. I grew up listening to Aretha more. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with the gospel. Like, definitely. I mean, like, if there is a voice from God, I hope it sounds like Aretha Franklin. Like,
yes.
This one, Nirvana or Pearl Jam? Do you have a rock background? I guess I should have
a rock background.
Yeah.
No, I mean, autodidactism. I lived in the era of like LimeWire as early internet user, and so like I just discovered all kinds of music. So yes, I did listen to some Nirvana. And so but not the other one.
No.
What'd you say? Was it Dead Prez? No,
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. I don't know what that is. Yeah, no, Nirvana though. Heard of those guys? Yeah,
I dig it.
And they were from Portland, right? Or he was from Seattle?
From Seattle. Yes,
okay,
they both are. They both are Seattle.
I just tried to play a show in Seattle on Thursday, and I say try because the plumbing went out in the venue 10 minutes before my set started, and they could no longer have anyone in the building because it's a code violation.
Wow.
So the show was canceled. Yeah, dude. I've never seen that happen before. It's wild.
That's wild. We went to I went to a show once and someone pulled the fire alarm, and because like they have to do a full inspection of the building, you can't come back in. And the band, it was I don't know if you know this band Goldfinger. They were like a ska band back in the day.
Yeah.
But they ended up setting up like acoustic guitars out at their bus and just invited everybody to stand around the bus and listen to them play acoustic.
So
it was without a
cute.
doubt one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was just
Oh,
perfectly.
it's so cute. You know what? It's funny, after the Seattle show, because it's like it's one of those venues with multiple venues inside. It's got like multiple floors and stages. And so another one of the bands that was playing at a different show went and did that. I was going to go out there and do that, but they took up, they were loud. Everyone was already standing around. I was like, I was all grumpy and I went home.
Beat you to it. Beat you to it. Next one, Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Oof, that's hard. But Janis Joplin's cover of "Summertime" is one of the most haunting songs.
I love it. I love it.
That's got to be Janis Joplin for that. Yeah.
This is the big cliche one added because everybody has to be asked: Beatles or the Stones?
The Beatles. I feel like it's such a basic bitch answer, but yeah,
it's all
I
right.
love it. I like the Rolling Stones too. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I loved Yellow Submarine, the film.
The movie. Oh yeah.
As a child, yeah. So
that's a very trippy cartoon. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. That explains a lot. I can see it. The last one of these, well, the standard last one of these, but I actually have two more for you that I'm going to throw in there. So, but the last one of these, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
I seen this a little weather of a man, Scaramouche. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody all day.
It's it's an easy one. So I asked my last guest, Andy Hurwitz, this for the first time, and I think it's one of the ones that I'm like play testing about putting in this thing. But Tribe Called Quest or De La Soul?
I was already mad that you were going to ask me any, like, as soon as you said, I was just like, this is rude. This is another rude question. Okay, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul. So I had the opportunity to do cover shows of both of these artists previously, and they were both super fun. I feel like, this is weird. So while I'm a bigger Tribe Called Quest fan, the memories of getting to perform 3 Feet High and Rising are so special to me that actually I'm gonna go with De La Soul on this one.
Okay. All right. So see, there we go. Like, I think that's a great question. Like, you know, I've been trying to find ones to kind of replace some of these, you know, some of these questions. Like, these aren't even the original ones I started with because, but like there were certain categories where everybody was just picking the one person over the other, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody and Stairway to Heaven. I don't know that anybody's picked Stairway to Heaven yet. So like, that's got to go. It's obviously not a good one, but De La versus Tribe, like my gut reaction, I want to say Tribe, but then like, I think about like, just how important De La was to me in finding like hip hop again, like because you know when I was a kid, like it was like, you know, Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Fat Boys, like this is like that was like my base, and then I like kind of, you know, started listening to weird novelty songs and stuff like that as a kid, and then like, you know, I heard like it wasn't even Me, Myself and I, it was the 3 is a magic number, and I was just like, oh my god,
that's so funny because that's exactly what's been playing in my head this entire portion of the conversation. Oh man, dun, dun. Oh my god,
blew me away, man.
It's so it again shows you a different facet of what hip hop can sound like and be. So yeah. And then the last one, this one is actually one of the original ones that I took out, but I feel like I am really curious because you are an MC and you are in politics. Biggie or Tupac? Tupac.
Yeah. I
mean, like that we got money for war, but we can't feed the poor. Such a timeless, like, just like marching order in terms of how to fix this, you know, fix this mess we're in. Also, his mom, his godmother was what's her name? Assata Shakur. Yeah. And he was like, he attended meetings of like the Young Communist League when he lived in Maryland and shit. I don't know. Boy, all this to say, his like radical bona fides are somewhat, I think, a little more pronounced than Biggie, though. I don't know if we're just going off artistry alone, but I think I got a little bit more in common with Tupac.
I could assume. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to make that assumption myself, but I kind of saw that coming. The last section is the top 10 countdown. These are just kind of favorites and stuff like that. So like I said to you before, you can make it about music, or you can make it about whatever you want it to be on some of these. Whenever I use the word Jawn, because we use it for whatever, it can be whatever you want. The first one. What was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were younger?
First thing I was obsessed with when I was younger. So many random things are popping in my head. Animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Which sounds messed up. You know those like late night commercials where they show you like the puppies in the cages and be like, donate $1 a day or Sparkles dies.
Yeah.
So that shit was like hurt me in my heart deep. And so like I was very like before I was into any other form of advocacy. Yeah. I was like for the animals, man. I would pick it in front of KFC.
That's beautiful.
When I was like 11, just like free the chickens. So yeah, I don't know. I was first obsession, freeing the chickens, man.
I love it. I love it. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
My current Jawn. It's funny because now I gotta. This is not at all like chickens, or is it? But no, my current Jawn is Tobe and Gwegwe.
Oh yeah, what? I'm not familiar. What?
Oh! So he's a Nigerian American rapper from Michigan that just raps about how much he loves his wife, and his wife is a rapper and raps about how much she loves him. But they're just like super crunk about it. They're just so crunk about their marriage, and there's like a ton of like flute and screaming, and all of the music videos are like monochromatic, like pastel green.
Yeah,
dude. Oh yeah. So good.
Speaking of flutes, the flute intro to "Oh Fuck." Get out of here! Come on, man.
Ain't no flute gone that hard since Jethro Tull.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, so good, so good. God,
I don't even know who Jethro Tull is. Somebody just told me that. I thought it was a nice compliment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That was one of my first concerts I went to was Jethro Tull. It was like the third concert I think I went to, which is number 3. What was your first concert? What was the first concert you went to?
My first concert was Alicia Keys. I got so excited I fainted.
Yeah.
Sure
do you stay an Alicia fan? Are you still yeah. Okay.
No. I'm really bad. I mean, like, I wouldn't even apply this to her because I was like 13 at the time. But like, I'm really bad about like not keeping up with artists that I love. It's weird. Like, I'll know that like Mick Jenkins has a new album out for like 6 months. I won't even listen to it. I don't know why. I'm still going through his old shit. I'm busy. So I'll come back when I'm ready.
Also,
I don't know. I didn't even know Alicia Keys had new shit, frankly.
Yeah. So also you're doing stuff. So like
I got
you've got things to do. Number 4, what was the last concert you went to?
Oh, I can't believe I couldn't remember this. I actually went and saw Hooray for the Riff Raff in Atlanta last week. Yeah. She's dope as hell. Again, politics is good. She got the song about abolishing ICE, which I'm very into. And, as a vocalist, I like studying other vocalists. I think she does cool things with her voice that are very like simple but elegant. And so I'm a student of hers. But yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
That's excellent.
They were opening for Bright Eyes though, and we totally 100% left before that shit because I was like, nah, man, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I draw the line though.
This I guess was before he just didn't show up to that show or left or whatever happened.
Oh no, so that's part of why we didn't stay because I heard about that. I was like, and plus, nah.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, I'll Google it. I want to see what else has happened on his.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
I heard it's been a shit show, but hope you're doing okay, Connor.
Yeah. Number 5, what was your favorite concert? What was the best show you ever went to?
Man, best show I ever went to is probably seeing Parliament Funkadelic with my whole family.
Yes.
In 2016, yeah.
That's awesome.
That was beautiful, yeah. And I just seen Mos Def at the same venue like 3 days before.
Wow. That's a good week.
San Diego. Great spot. But yeah, no, seeing P-Funk and them with my dad, my mom, my brothers, their wives. It was, yeah.
Have you gotten to listen to that new Black Star album at all? It's incredible.
You're the second person to bring it up to me, and I am again very ashamed that I have not. This is a recurrent pattern of mine. I just don't. I like love an artist dearly, and I just refuse to listen to their new work because I'm tired or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, your thoughts? What do you think? You like it?
I do. I like it a lot. I will say that I've
heard kind of like mixed things somewhat.
Yeah, like So like just as a base reference, like Respiration is what I believe the perfect hip hop song ever written sounds like. It's just like it's got everything I ever want in a hip hop song, right? But so that's where I'm coming from. So like it's good, but I think I've listened to it twice, and I really probably couldn't tell you which track stands out to me. Like it's sonically like pleasing, and it's very like I dig it, but it's not like there's no respiration on it. So I guess
fair, yeah. And it's funny how I've had a lot of favorite albums like that in the last year or so, where it's like I loved the album. None of the songs stood out to me in particular, but as a piece of art altogether, throw that shit on in the background while you're cleaning the house.
Yep,
great.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting. So I'm looking forward to hearing it, even if I'm just like I foresee that may be my reaction as well. I'm just like good mopping music.
And also, and no disrespect to him, I kind of I have like a love-hate relationship with Kweli at this point. So like it's like
yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard to enjoy at points, but you know, what can you do? Number 5, who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead.
Nina Simone.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Have you seen Summer of Soul?
Oof. Oh my God, that movie did, like tore my soul apart. To be honest,
sobbed, like, dude, damn, no, Nina Simone hands down,
that movie was the first movie I went to see back in a theater post pandemic. And I was like in the theater in tears, and I can't tell if it was just like the emotion of like, oh my God, am I going to die being here? But it was also like just like the entire midsection, the MLK tribute in the middle with like Mavis Staples and Mahalia. Oh my God, they're like, ugly crying. I was ugly crying, especially when you realize like how close to his assassination that was. Like it's just that wound is fresh, and like it's just that is a powerful scene, and I am so happy that like Questlove kind of brought that out and let people see it. And like, you know, I'll be honest with you, like the thing I love about that film, and not just as a musician or a lover of music, is just like the joy. Like it's just like everybody is just so happy, and like that presentation of joy, especially from that time period, especially with everything that was going on, to show that like, hey, look, we can persevere, and we can like we can love and have good times. It doesn't always have to be pain. Like
yes, it's so important to remember.
Yeah, love that movie.
Beautiful.
Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn. What's something you wish had a little more shine to it?
I wish people really appreciated the criticality of staying hydrated.
Yeah.
How much water have you had today, sir?
Not enough. You sound like my girlfriend. She is her and her entire family. They go through like Nalgene after Nalgene of water every day. They are properly hydrated, and I just pale in comparison.
Bro, it's everything. You're like, I'm tired. I got a headache. My joints ache. Nah, like whatever problem you're having, just try drinking some water first. It's amazing. Feels so much better, so different. I'm a whole different person when I'm hydrated. It's wonderful.
All right. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. You just added yourself another fan, because once she hears that, she's going to be like, "See, will you listen?"
Oh yeah, I need to write an anthem about hydration.
Hydration.
Yeah,
I love it. Number 1 download. Number 8. What's your favorite album?
Favorite album? That's an interesting question, because it's like of all time or now, or
you can make it be whatever you want it to be. This show is as much yours as it is mine.
Favorite album. My favorite album, I gotta say probably The Impossible Kid by A$AP Rock.
Yeah. Wow. Good one.
Because like, again, another piece of like hip hop artistry that like really gave me permission to just feel a lot of stuff and be a weirdo. Really inspired me to like really, that came out around the same time I started like, you know, performing a lot. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, inspired me a lot in that respect. Also, my son's name is A$AP. No, just apropos of nothing. He's a little impossible kid. He's a little impossible kid. So it's not even, haven't even listened to the album in like a long time. So that's why I was like, my favorite album of when. That album, I will say, will always hold a special place in my heart, let's say. It might not even be the best album, but just like for me, particularly, held a special place in my heart. So
perfect answer. That is exactly what I want as an answer to that question. So thank you. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release.
Well, immediately, or if it takes me a minute, is that okay too?
Sure. No. Yeah.
I think. That's got to be No Name for me.
Yeah.
I'm fiending for the next No Factory, baby. She's been sitting on that shit for too long. I'm mad at her.
I love it.
That's me until the minute that album drops, and then I'm gonna be your number 1 fan. Oh yeah, she's. I'm very excited to see what her next, whether and how her next musical moves reflect her like evolving politics. So yeah, that'll be really interesting. She just does it unlike anyone else. Period. So I don't know. I'll listen to whatever she's doing.
I love it. The 10th and final one of the top 10 countdown. What's your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, can be anything you want it to be.
My favorite Jawn of all time is being horizontal, being on a bed, being on a couch, being on a beach, laying face down in the grass. Horizontality is the Jawn.
That's awesome. That is an awesome answer. So here's my big question for you. I look to you as someone who I admire, both musically and in life. Like, I just think you are exactly what people should be and strive to be. So here's my question. Are you optimistic? Do you think things will get better? Because it feels dark, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? So yes, I do feel optimistic. I believe that I find a lot of hope in the idea of the generationality of struggle. So, Angela Davis has a special appearance on the album. She's been an anti-prison activist since for 50 years. And when I met her in 2020, said she'd never been more excited than in the current moment for the future of anti-prison activism, right? And so I think about the fact that she's in her 70s. She's probably not going to be here to see the end of that fight. And actually, neither will I, frankly. My hope I can create the conditions for my son to finish the fight. And so that can be kind of sad sounding. But I actually think it's kind of beautiful that today I endeavor to carry on the struggle of the slavery abolitionists and the civil rights and of the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. And they're not here to see me doing it. And maybe no one will remember I even did it, but it's kind of beautiful that it goes on and on. It might be sad to think about it like that, it's going to take us that long to fix all this, but it's but we're also not alone in this, not even in the coalitions in our present day. We're also with our ancestors. We're also with our descendants. I don't know. I feel like there's something beautiful about that. So I do remain optimistic. I do see a certain sense of beauty in it that I do think things are going to get better. I don't know if I'll be here to see it, but I do. I hold on to hope that things are going to get better. Yeah.
Well, I think that's inspiring, and I really do. And I'm being a little pessimistic over here, but I do. I do honestly in my heart believe that it will get better. And the reason I think it will get better, kind of like we've been talking about, is that people like yourself are doing things to make sure that it does get better, because it's not going to get better by itself. And I think, not just by what you do, but also by inspiring others to do and to follow in your footstep and to show hey, look, I can do this. So why can't you do this? I think is a beautiful message and a beautiful thing to kind of put out there. So I respect you dearly. And I thank you so much, not just for everything you've created, but for everything you've done. And this has been an awesome conversation. If people want to find out more about you, how can they find you on the internet and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can find me at Linqua Franqa, anywhere you get music, or tweet your tweets or post your food pics. So that's LINQUAFRANQA. And Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, your nightmares, anywhere even if you're not trying to find me, I'll be there. Don't worry.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And guys, like listeners, people listening, please check out Bell Ringer. Buy it on physical media. Be one of those people. Like that's my new channel. I'm bringing back physical media. We're doing
There we go. There we go. Oh yeah. And when does this come out? By the way,
so not. I'm going to leave this in because it's like an ongoing joke, which is me trying to do the math of what date this is. So not next Monday, but the Monday after.
Okay, I didn't know if I should shout out that I'm going to be playing some West Coast shows, but I will be back.
You'll be back by that point.
By then, yeah. But yeah, it's cool.
What is the show's been like? How receptive have people been to the music?
It's been incredible. So I'm out there opening for Holy Fuck, which is like an experimental electronic band. Graham Walsh from the band mixed my album, but they just got all sorts of bleeps and bloops and craziness going. And then the crowds have been wildly like kind and welcoming and warm and buying lots of vinyl and just never would have thunk it. It's been so dope. But yeah, I'm doing some more shows with them. LA, Santa Cruz, Oakland coming up. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for doing this. And, if you just want to knock on your neighbors' doors and let them know that from Nate, from Yo, That's My Jawn, thank you for the way you guys all voted in 2020. And
yeah, you hear that, you guys? Yeah, they said no problem.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I needed to get that message out there down there. But but again, thank you so much for doing this, and it's been such an awesome conversation.
Hell yeah! Thanks for having me.
My thanks again to Mariah for joining me today on the podcast. The latest Franqa album, Bell Ringer, is available now on your favorite streaming services. And it's also available on vinyl. And you can pick up that vinyl from the Franqa Bandcamp page at linkafranqa.bandcamp.com. You can follow Franqa's music on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franqa. And you can follow Mariah's political endeavors at Mariah for Athens. Links to all of those are in the show notes. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you want to try something new, follow us on the Good Pods app. It's like a social network for podcasts, and you can follow friends and see what they're listening to and stuff. It's pretty neat. But they also provide a message board area for each episode of the podcast, so you can talk about what you just listened to. Pretty cool, isn't it? Well, speaking of cool, if you ever wanted to be cool yourself, here's your chance. All you gotta do is earn yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for Citizenship of the World by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/yothat'smyjawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo, That's My Jawn, and search Yo, That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo, That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Well, that's it for this week. Big shout out to the folks over at Siren Records in Doylestown for allowing me to leave some podcast flyers on the counter in the shop. If you're in the Bucks County area, please be sure to check out Siren for all of your music needs. Their vinyl selection is a thing of beauty. All right, y'all, I will catch you on the next spin. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be...
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.